Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of BC Buckets. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me is Colin Mitchell. And today we have Kon Knueppel of Duke versus Tre Johnson of Texas. Two freshmen, two awesome scoring offensive players here. Knueppel obviously playing for Duke, one of the best teams in the country. Go check out our Cooper Flag analysis if you haven't already. Tre Johnson for Texas, a team that made the NCAA tournament. But was unable to really extend their run due to limitations of the roster around him. Tre, 20 points per game. Kon, 14.5 points per game. Obviously, very, very different roles, which will break down everything. Colin, we got to start on offense with these guys.
Yeah.
They play a very, very different style of basketball. Where are you at? Let's say with Kon first, where are you at with his offensive game, and do you believe in it?
I love, and if anyone has ever watched any of our other videos from the past, I love off-ball shooters. They're my favorite. Rip Hamilton is my one of my favorite players ever. And Kon Knueppel, he's not Rip Hamilton, but he is incredible from three and is able to just find a way to get open off of any type of screen. His movement off ball is incredible. Duke did a lot of ghost screens, which I think it was my favorite play watching Kon Knueppel do, where he'd come to the top, ghost screen, boom, three, and that would happen all the time. And his footwork is so good, so even if other teams are preparing for it, he's going to hit that shot. Not only that, is he's kind of shown flashes of creation, but we can talk about that later. But his main thing is that he's able to just knock down the 3-point shot, 43% off a catch and shoot, 90% at the line. And he finds every open area on the court to get that shot off.
Yeah, he's a fantastic offensive player. I mean, and I before we even get into it, like he was the leading scorer in the Nike AAU circuit in EYBL.
Yeah.
His last year, 22.5 points per game on 47% from three. So this isn't like he was just playing off Cooper Flag. He wasn't just scoring because he was at Duke. Like he's been doing this for a long time. Like he was a top 10 player in the country coming into the year. He also shot 40%, like you said, from three on 200 plus attempts.
Yeah.
Now, I think if we just stay on the 3-point shooting aspect of it for a second, like in comparing Knueppel and Johnson, it's fascinating because the difficulty of shots that Johnson had.
Yeah, they do
So
it so
that's
differently.
where it's if you're an NBA team choosing between these two and you're like, I need a shooter here. What am I going to do? Obviously, there's a lot of other factors that go into player evaluation, but like if I just need a shooter, I don't know who I'm picking. I think these are two A-plus level shooters. Like I'd have to go back through the years of like shooters that we've evaluated and whatnot, but like these are two shooters that I would put up against anybody that we've ever scouted.
College Reed Shepherd?
Like Reed Shepherd level. Now Reed Shepherd, the numbers are outstanding for Reed because he shot like 50% from three and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But obviously he was short and not and had some limitations. He's a very good player, but it had some limitations. But yes, that's the level of shooter I think Knueppel and Johnson are. Like I think they are that A-plus level. Johnson had to do a lot off the bounce, obviously, for a Texas team where he was. I don't even have his usage percentage up.
It is 29.
29% usage for Texas, and he took some deep threes, took off balance threes, took off the bounce threes. The SEC freshman of the year, he also shot 86% from the free throw line. So we're talking about two incredible shooters. He led the SEC in scoring as a freshman and shot 36% from three off the bounce and 41% off the catch. These two, I'm just gonna say this right now. These two are rated the exact same in my I rank them all, but I'll put ratings besides all of them to be even more specific. They are both exactly the same rating for me. Really? I love both of these prospects very, very much. And offensively, I think Knueppel has that. So we've covered the shooting, or I've talked a long time about the shooting, but off the dribble ability, they're both very, very good, but they're different, right? Knueppel plays off two, gets to the rim a little bit more. Tre Johnson kind of creates separation for his jumper, right, off the dribble.
Yeah. I about their shooting. I guess I have nothing else to say because you got you
Sorry,
got Tre
I
Johnson.
just started
Yeah,
going off because the
I will.
shooting
I
is
will add though. I will
incredible.
add though. Tre Johnson, 44% in transition 3-point shots. Isn't that a crazy
Like, he would just
stat?
run to, like, a spot and
Literally,
just
and he just
sprint
boom
and just pull,
and
and you're like, "Okay."
7
Boom.
threes per game,
Yeah,
like insane.
it's
So yeah, as shooters, they are up there, despite them doing it in different ways. Moving on to non 3-point shooting, how do you like their finishing, and I guess anything else that's not a three?
yeah, Knueppel's a way better finisher.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's if you wanna start there, like, I think you said you have Knueppel above
yeah.
Trey,
I have
like,
Knueppel
just
above Tre Johnson,
in
just in
general?
general, but I think Knueppel does finishing not incredibly. He's a really good finisher, but he does it. He's not gonna get a lot of looks at the rim in the NBA just because he's not a super crazy athlete. But he's able to attack closeouts and he's able to just finish well. I mean, he's not super good length, almost has an even wingspan, not a whole ton of burst, but he's able to finish when he gets to the rim, and that's going to be important for a guy that is going to be just a 3-point shooter, and be that type of guy. Whereas you look at a Tre Johnson, and you can try to defend this a little bit, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't see a world where he's able to get to the rim in the NBA and be like, I feel like he's going to be too one dimensional in the NBA. He's going to rely on that shot. And that's not to say it won't go in, but he
Yeah.
shot 54% at the rim overall, doesn't have a really good first step. And he's not strong or big enough. I mean,
He's not
he has a
super
6'10", he's a 6'10" wingspan, 6'6" height, but he's 190 pounds. So is he going to be able to fill that frame to get to the basket? Because I feel like for him to have the ball in his hands to take those incredible threes and make those shots, I don't know if he's going to be able to develop that.
I think it's fair, and that's what the questions I have is, like, the explosive ability. Only 71 half-court shots at the rim. It was 46 percent on those on layups. He does get bumped off his spots a bit, kind of like Ace Bailey, like how we talked about him. Like, he doesn't get all the way to the rim, so he has to turn around, take tough twos, which isn't great. And then the real question for Trey is he doesn't get to the free throw line a ton, and it is because he settles for a lot of jumpers. So that's the evolution for him. But I think we did was it Keontae George a couple years ago,
Yeah.
and I went back and I looked at our evaluation of Keontae, and I looked at, like, his stats and stuff, and it's not even close. Like, Tre Johnson is a way better scorer,
Yeah.
has done it, like, obviously, Keontae Jordan's only shot, like, 33% from 3. A lot of that was projection for Keontae, and I used that to say there's no questions of what Tre Johnson can do as a shooter and as a scorer, and for him to lead the SEC, and for those who don't know, the SEC this past year was the greatest basketball conference of this century. For him to step in at Texas and lead the conference in scoring and minutes, I just can't overlook that. Like, there are clear question marks here, but I think the natural ability to score the basketball and to shoot at this level is just way too overwhelming to me for me to be like, well, he doesn't get to the free throw line enough. It is going to be a concern, and it does limit his ceiling. Like, it definitely does. It limits his ceiling 100%. But I would argue for Kon, like, his limited athleticism and self creation
Yeah.
limit his ceiling. So I think these are two players. While I love them both, neither one I would say has, like, the absolute highest ceiling. Not saying they can't be all stars, but, like, they're not going to be on that top tier of players because they do have some hard ceiling, like, things with them.
I'm trying to think now. You almost swayed me until I remembered, until I scrolled down and looked at my defensive notes.
Okay, let's talk defense.
So
Let's talk defense, yeah.
Let's start with Kon. I think Kon has a very similar motor to his teammate Cooper Flag, where he just hustles really hard, is not afraid of contact, diving to the floor, and although he's not going to be a very good defender, I think because he competes so hard, he's going to make up for that lack of athleticism and at least be a neutral defender. Because a lot of people, they'll knock him and they'll say that he's going to be negative and it's going to be hard for him to stand on the floor. I don't think that's possible with somebody who competes as hard as he does. And I know I don't like to project on the way players act and stuff like that, but it's like you see it. There's that one highlight where he's like pulling his teammate back in, like
Yeah.
yeah, like what is happening? And that's not to say too that, and that's mostly at the point of attack. I think off ball he has the IQ to almost be a plus off ball defensively. He's going to need to improve going around screens, especially in the pick and roll. But I think off ball and just how hard he competes, that's going to keep him on the floor. Whereas he's not going to be like a, I can't think of a player in the NBA right now that I remember getting drafted that we didn't like on defense that can't see the floor now. But point being, when you
There's
look at
probably
Tre
a
Johnson,
lot.
there's probably a lot. Yeah.
Rob Dillingham.
Yeah, Rob Dillingham. I mean, Con's not 6 foot, so
Yeah.
but whereas you look at Tre Johnson, I don't know if that defense is going to project as far. I know he's longer. He obviously has the length to be a good defender, but he's not really. He hasn't shown any flashes of anything to me on the defensive end, and it's. I know we talked about this with Jaden McDaniels, and I don't think it's an attitude thing with Tre Johnson. I don't know how much you can project him being a plus on defense like a Jaden McDaniels. Like how much is that?
I mean, we've been
be?
surprised before.
That's I know, and that's what I mean. That's
ever heard of
that's
Anthony
true.
Edwards?
That's
Dude,
true.
that dude
That's a
out
good
of
point.
college, I was like, this dude
but the
doesn't
difference care. between Jane McDaniels and Anthony Edwards is that they were both athletes. Like whereas Tre Johnson's not an athlete.
He's
like
not that level of athlete. Yes, he will not be a top level defender at any point. The question is, can he be defensively like a Devin Booker? He's not. I don't have Devin Booker as a comp, but like in theory, like a guy who's strong enough and just like does his job there. And Devin Booker made a NBA Finals on a team. So I do think it's going to be interesting to see him grow in that aspect of it. Both. But, I do agree that Kon is a better defender and especially has the higher floor in that respect. So it'd be interesting to see. You want to get to comps?
Sure. Yeah. You want to do Kon or you want to do Tre Johnson first?
Let's do Kon.
I love my comp just because it's so funny. I instantly thought of Luke Kennard. So I think that's kind of high motor Luke Kennard is what I have written down here.
Luke Kennard.
I think that he is going to kind of play that same role. He's going to come off screens. He might not. I don't think he'll have the same, at least coming out of college, mid-range effect that Luke Kennard has. But I think Kon's better getting to the basket. But he's going to be that off-ball player that's going to come in, make threes, be the corner guy, come off of flares, pin downs, whatever, like Luke Kennard does right now. And yeah, I also think too. I have the ceiling here. You probably will disagree with me here. I think he could be the third best player on a team, like on a good team. I think Kon could.
So that kind of goes to my ceiling pick. I have Desmond Bane as a ceiling.
Yeah, I didn't.
Falls in line.
Yeah, I think in terms of being the third best player on a team, I didn't like that comp just because I don't know. I just didn't like that comp. Thinking about him and Desmond Bane, but that's a good comp.
I mean, they're both kind of stocky scorers.
Yeah.
Both
have like no positive wingspan.
Yeah. Yes. So that's where I went ceiling wise. Other than that, I went with Gary Trent and Dante DiVincenzo as two.
Gary Trent's an interesting one. Yeah, I like that.
Both 6'5", 6'6", kind of guys who aren't elite defenders but are elite shooters, but can stay on the floor obviously with that ability. So, those are some. I did see someone say Jeff Hornacek one time, which I thought was interesting. Shout out the Utah Jazz in the 90s for Jeff Hornacek there. But yeah, those are my comps for Kon. For Tre Johnson, do you have anybody you love?
No, I mean, I put Cam Thomas.
That's the one.
I think he could fill it. That's what I think. And I think Tre Johnson will be like. I think Tre Johnson's going to have a game where he's like nuclear, and you're like, oh my god, like this guy is a star. But I don't know if he has enough to get over the hump. Kind of like Cam Thomas, right? Like he had those games where he averaged, it was like 30 points a game almost. And then you kind of don't really hear of him anymore.
A lot of people say Cam Thomas, and I agree with them. I think Cam Thomas is a very good comp. Do you know what Cam Thomas averaged in the 25 games he played this past year?
No.
Do you want to take a guess?
No, I don't.
24.
Really?
And he's 23 years old.
Really?
And he shot 50% from 2 and 35% from 3. Last year, when he
Whoa.
was 22 years old, he averaged 22.5 points per game.
See, I'm thinking of 2023 Cam Thomas. That just
Yeah,
tells
when
you how much
he
I
just
don't watch the.
popped in. Yeah, when he just
Yeah,
popped in and had those like random like
yeah.
50-point games or whatever they were, 40-point games.
Yeah, it was whenever whoever I think it was. They had a bunch of injuries and he was just playing. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that tells you how much I watch the Brooklyn Nets.
Yes,
But
yes. No, because it surprised me too. Because Cam
yeah,
Thomas, I watched Cam Thomas at LSU, and you're like, wow, this dude is an unbelievable scoring talent.
mhm,
And then he was drafted with the 27th pick in the first round. And while the ceiling is clearly like, maybe limited, it maybe isn't what you want it to be in terms of like, you're not going to build your offense around him. You're not going to build your team around him. But he's a 23-year-old that averaged 24 points per game on efficient shooting this
yeah,
past year. I struggle to really say that that's a bad outcome.
that's true. That's
And
true.
if Tre
But
Johnson just led the SEC in scoring at 20 points per game at Texas, I think Cam Thomas is a very real outcome. And honestly, he's a better passer than I think Cam. I know he's a better passer than Cam was
yeah,
out of college. And we'll see. Like even as a pure 3-point shooter, he's a better shooter than Cam was out of college because Cam was like just scored the ball in a bunch of different ways. But like that's the level we're talking about right now. It's not a floor. That's rich to say it's the floor, but like
right.
that's where I'm at. Like that's why I can't get it out of my head because he's not just a scorer. Like he's not just
Yeah,
he's not like I said, Keontae George or somebody who just scores points. Like he's actually like of the past decade, I don't know how many pure scorers I'm putting over him. Like Cam Thomas, Tre Johnson, I'd have to go down the list in terms of just pure bucket getting freshmen. That's why I love Tre Johnson right now. So Cam Thomas is one of the comps. I have Jordan Poole as another comp, and even
Jordan
even
Poole's a
Jordan
good comp.
even
Jordan
Jordan
Poole's a good comp.
Clarkson, I think is interesting because like again, people think negatively about Jordan Clarkson, right?
But he
For
was
his
6 man of the year, so it's like, is that really a bad outcome?
yeah, for his career, he averaged 16 points per game. He's had I'm looking at like 5 or 6 seasons where he's averaged over 16, 17 points a game. Like 6 man of the year, top he won it one year. He was fourth the next year. So again, I think these are very realistic outcomes, and I would have no problem taking a top 5 pick in this draft on Cam Thomas, Jordan Poole, Jordan Clarkson. So that was a passionate
I
rant about
cannot
Tre Johnson.
believe the tables that you just turned upon me with the Cam. I did not realize that Cam Thomas was averaging that
Like
much the last 2 years.
nobody does.
That's
Nobody outside of
crazy.
Brooklyn realizes this dude he missed a lot of the season. But like he's gonna come back and he's gonna average 25 points per game next year. And I don't know if people are ready
Wow.
for that. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if they
mean,
are.
if that's the comp, then I mean, that's what I wrote down. So yeah, I mean, if you can be a shot maker like that and stay on the floor, I mean, yeah, Cam Thomas, I have right here, 31 minutes a game. Like, okay, like you take that. So
Jordan Poole averaged 20 a game this season. Obviously was a contributor on a championship team.
yeah, Jordan Poole though I think has a little different arc. I think Cam Thomas fits the
Yeah,
arc more, but Jordan Poole definitely doesn't finish like you'd like him to at the rim. So
yeah. But again, I have these two at the exact same rating on my system on my
so they're the
charts.
same rating. What's ceiling for both for you? Obviously, you said Cam Thomas now is the ceiling for Tre Johnson. I'm assuming. So what's your ceiling
I
for
don't know if
Colin?
that's a ceiling. I don't know if that's a ceiling. I think there's a world where both are all stars. I think both have all star
Potential.
ceilings. Yes. Like I don't want to use potential because that's like they're expected to do that. I'm not
Okay.
expecting them to be all stars, but like
Yeah, I see what
ceiling,
you're saying.
like they could make 2, 3 all stars in their career, and I wouldn't be surprised at all by that. I think they are. Again, Johnson has kind of a little bit more stuff to his game, I guess, that could get him to the next level. But
Yeah.
Khan is just going to be awesome. So I'm interested to see where they're drafted. That's the big thing here. We know tentatively like Bailey or Edgecombe will probably go 3. I assume the other would go 4. I have no clue. But like then,
Yeah, it's
because
kind
like
of a
what
crapshoot.
the Wizards are 6. I don't have the draft order in front of me, but like that's kind of the grouping there. I'm
Sickening. The
interested to
Wizards are
see.
sixth. Sickening. Spurs and Mavericks, ridiculous.
I know, it's crazy. But yeah, there's Tre Johnson versus Kon Knueppel. Two awesome prospects. We'll see how it plays out. Thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Let us know in the comments below who you think the better prospect is. Who do you think they should, your team, or not your team, whoever the team is, should take between those two. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. Watch the other videos on the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.